The goal with time blocking is exactly what it sounds like. You want to lay out all of your tasks for the week and then block off time in your calendar for each one. This way, at any given time, you'll know exactly what you should be doing to stay on track. But the question I had is, will this work for me? Will it help me enjoy my work more, or will I feel boxed in by it? Will I actually get more done, or will I just feel more overwhelmed? Well, we're about to find out. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Maddie if you're new. Today is going to be a bit of a different type of video than I usually make, and that's because this video is going to span over 14 days. So I'll take you along as I set up my time blocks. I will check in with you every once in a while throughout these 2 weeks, and at the end, report back with my final thoughts. Today is Sunday, which is usually when I plan for the week ahead. So let's kick off this experiment with a little plan with me. Okay, so first what I'm doing is I'm just kind of brain dumping all of my to-dos for this week in my to-do app. One thing that I found when I've tried this in the past, and I think the reason it hasn't worked for me, is that my time blocks would be really general. So it may just be like a 3-hour block where it's like video or, design or something like that. And so it was really broad, and it didn't, I would sit down and not know exactly what to do. Or if another task started to sneak into that longer block, I would just say screw it and just kind of ignore my entire time blocking calendar altogether. So what I'm going to try this time is to time block really specific things. Basically, I'm just going to chunk this down to more specific tasks, and then I'll have a really long list and I'll be able to plug those things into my calendar. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just going through and looking at my email as well as my Notion, which I am going to make a video about really soon, so stay tuned for that. I'm going through all of the tasks in there, and I'm writing them down in my to-do app. Then I'm breaking them up, like I mentioned, into smaller tasks that are more digestible, manageable, and things that I can actually work on in a day. Since I work for a startup, and I have these daily meetings, a lot of to-dos come out of these daily meetings that are basically due the next day. Like right now, we're just in a phase where it's hard to set long-term goals. We have very short-term goals and tasks. So it's really hard for me to know exactly what I need to do for my day job this week, because it really is kind of like an in-the-moment day-to-day thing. And so that does make this a little bit trickier, but that's why I want to experiment with it in these next 2 weeks and see if I can do time blocking, see if it's something that's going to help me, or if it's just not possible right now. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I have to make sure to just save myself obviously a lot of time for my actual day job, since tasks for that will just be coming up really last minute. So now I'm just estimating the time for each of these tasks and plugging them into my calendar. Like I said, I'm saving a lot of room, especially in the morning, for things that I'm going to have to do for my day job. And that is because I work with 3 team members from Germany, and so they usually go to bed around my lunchtime. So it's important that I get a large chunk of work done and collaborate with them in the mornings. Okay, so this is looking good. There's some space in here for other things that are going to come up with work. I'm interested to see how this goes, and I will check in with you guys tomorrow. Hey friends, so just checking in because it is the next Monday, and last week did not go to plan. So this is kind of my first issue with time blocking that I've run into before, and it's that I hate being behind. Maybe it's just a personal issue that I need to work on, but whenever I'm not ahead, I feel behind, and that feeling really gives me anxiety. So every single day I'm if I don't end the day getting done exactly what I wanted to get done, or even a little bit more, then I feel anxious and I just can't relax for the rest of the day. I'm kind of beating myself up. And so the issue with time blocking is I've like been really specific this past week, or last week I should say, about everything I wanted to get done. And then on Tuesday I got strep throat. And so I was like going to the doctor. I obviously was not feeling well. I was working from my bed and I was just like trying so hard to get everything done that I planned, but there was no way that was going to happen. Like it just didn't happen. And that's fine, but it made it really obvious looking at my calendar what all I didn't do that I should have done or that I wanted to do. And so that was sort of like disheartening, and especially week 1 of trying out this new sort of productivity system, it was kind of a downer. But I am gonna do it again, this next week and finish out this little experiment, even though it's not like the ideal 2 weeks to have tried this out. Things in life happen. And so if I don't have a system that works even when I get sick or even when things come up and I'm not perfect, then what's the point? So I am going to finish this out. And so right now what I'm going to do is go back into my to-do list in to-do and fill in my calendar for this week. And let's hope that this week goes a little bit more to plan, but we will see. I want to wrap up with some final thoughts about this time blocking experiment, how I'm going to be moving forward, what I liked and what I didn't like. So let's start off with what I didn't like about time blocking. I mentioned this before, but I didn't like how I was always feeling behind if I just messed up one time. If I just cut into a block of time once, I instantly got anxiety because I felt like I was falling behind in my day and then in my week, and it just sort of snowballed from there. Going along with that, I didn't like how I felt so overwhelmed when I had a sick day, and last week I had 2, maybe 3 sick days. So that was definitely not the best feeling. I don't know if that really has to do with time blocking, but I think that this whole process did make it really obvious how much that derailed my week. Another thing I didn't really like, which I didn't really expect, was that I didn't feel like I could get in the flow quite as easily. If I had, let's say, a block of time where I was going to be editing or designing, then usually I would really get in the flow and hours would pass and I wouldn't even realize it. But I felt like these past 2 weeks, maybe just since it was new for me, I was always thinking about my time blocks and my schedule and worrying that I was gonna cut into the next block instead of just letting myself be productive and get in the flow. Okay, now let's talk about what I did like, because overall I am really happy that I did this and I am going to be implementing certain things going forward. First, I really like just going through the process of planning each week. So at the beginning of the week, as you saw, I would prioritize what I needed to get done. I would chunk those things down and make them so much more manageable, and then estimate the time it would take and plug them into my calendar accordingly, and I could switch things around, even out my workload, and make sure that once we got to Thursday or Friday, I wasn't just, catching up and like really working hard to get everything else done that I didn't get done before. That really helped that process of moving things around and Even on days where maybe I got more done than I thought I would, let's say that happened on a Tuesday, then Tuesday night I can go back into my calendar and reconfigure some things to, even out my workload even more, to get ahead, or if I felt behind, I could, move things around. And I really liked that process, and I'm definitely going to be doing that going forward. Estimating how long things take you is so important and so difficult. So the more that I do it, I think the better I'll get at it, and that will just make this process and my productivity kind of get better going forward each week. That also allowed me to group tasks together that were more similar or required sort of like a similar amount of energy. So for example, if I had to film maybe 3 different small things in a week, I would schedule them for the same day, so that the only day I had to get up in front of the camera and put makeup on and all of that stuff would be that day that I had to film. Or if I had to do a bunch of writing or plan a bunch of Instagram posts, it was easier and more efficient to do that all at once. So chunking those things together was really helpful. And the only way to do that is to plan ahead. And so that's why I really liked this process every Monday or Sunday of going through and planning the week. The other thing I noticed and really liked is that I felt more energized when I was doing this. I was more alert, and I was definitely more productive. While I definitely felt a little bit discouraged sometimes when I would get behind, overall, looking back at the last 2 weeks, I was definitely more productive than previous weeks and maybe even previous months. I got so much done. And yeah, I think that even though I'm not going to be as strict with this going forward, if I just implement what I really liked about the process, I think I can continue to be really productive, but then also use this to give myself rest days. Plan ahead so that maybe a Friday I can take the day off or the afternoon off every once in a while. And yeah, I think that the more that I plan ahead and use this process, the more I'll be able to do that. So the last thing I'll say is just that I would recommend doing this if you're looking to be more productive, more creative, whatever it might be. But I would say, like I've mentioned, that you shouldn't feel like you have to follow your schedule to a T. Use it more as an exercise to estimate your time, prioritize your tasks, and just give yourself an idea of what you're gonna do each day and how long that those things might take and what order you might do them in order to be the most efficient. But if you are gonna try this, my recommendation would be not to hold yourself to the exact schedule, because for me at least, that got a little bit stressful and a little bit overwhelming. But overall, I really enjoyed doing this experiment, and I hope that you enjoyed following along with me as I did it, and that maybe you'll try it yourself. And I really want to know down in the comments if you have tried time blocking before, or what your favorite system for productivity is. If you did like this video and you want to see more videos about productivity and systems and routines and things like that, definitely give it a thumbs up so that I know to make more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in a future video. Bye!